The Pasha Pod.
For those of you who have heard Gary's legendary story about the couple that lost their baby because they didn't have enough faith, well, that was us. Kath and I had a baby that died at 1 month old, and while I was working for Gary and we were traveling together for a business appointment, he kind of randomly brought that up because we had relayed to him before that, we had X amount of children. I think at that point we had Dustin, Samuel, and Jessica, our three oldest, because Kathleen wasn't pregnant yet with Joy. In between Dustin and Samuel was Aaron, and Aaron died at 1 month old. And of course, Gary and Drenda and the people we've been fellowshipping with for over a year knew this. But Gary, in telling this story, is referring to us. And man, you want to have that Will Smith moment where you walk up on stage and you slap the nonsense out of somebody's face and tell them, keep the name of my loved one out of your mouth. Because when he tells that story, he's actually talking about a conversation that he had in the car with me. And he had the audacity to tell me that the reason my baby died at 1 month old wasn't actually because of SIDS, sudden infant death syndrome, but it was because I didn't have enough faith. Or, as he said, because there was some sin in your life. You're disobedient. At that point, we were on fire for God. And I did CPR on my son, on my 1 month old. And we fully believed until we put him in the ground that God could raise him from the dead. Believe me, there was no issue with my faith. And there was no sin in our lives. Like I say, we were on fire. We were ministering, preaching, street preaching on the streets of Columbus, Ohio, down in the dirty South End, man, on Parsons Avenue, just ripping at it. Busy in kingdom work. So, no, there was no sin in our life. No, there was no lack of faith. It was simply that's what fit the narrative for, honestly, for the grooming that Gary and Drenda were doing to build their word of faith empire. Because in their world, if something bad happens, or if something that they deem to be ungodly or not advantageous happens, it's because you're in strife, or you're in confusion, or you don't have faith, or not enough faith, or you're in sin. God forbid it's just that you're human walking on this planet, trying to do the best you can and suffering the joys and tragedies that all people experience. I remember one time, one of her boys, I don't know if it was Tim or Tom, was out hunting or something and broke his tooth, or had something happen with his mouth. And Drenda, in her denial of actuality and facts and reality, put the narrative out there that, the reason that he fell and broke his tooth is because we were in strife that day. Could have just been that he suffered a random accident and fell and broke his tooth. Nope, that didn't fit the narrative. Coming from the guy, Gary, who actually wrote a book called Deer Hunting by Faith, you can't make this stuff up. It's not too hard to believe. Makes you wonder, how did all those natives and aborigines and First Nation people and hunters and gatherers ever shoot a buffalo or a deer who weren't employing Gary's deer hunting by faith methodology? Look, all I have to say is, if you've suffered loss, if you've been hurt, if you've lost somebody, if something bad has happened to you, welcome to the human race. If you're a believer and bad things have happened to you, let's just say what Jesus said about those kind of things. Who sinned that this man would be born blind? Where's the fault? Where's the lack of faith? Where's the sin? Where's the confusion in this situation? And Jesus just spoke deadpan straight to them and said, nobody sinned. This has happened so that the power of God can be demonstrated right here in front of you. And Jesus healed the blind man. And so things that happen to us are for the overcoming testimony in our lives. So if you're going through something, stick it out, hang in there. Don't let people tell you that you don't have enough faith. No one can see inside you. Only God can see inside you. Don't let people pin that on you. And Gary, stop telling that story, bro, because you don't know what you're talking about. And don't you dare use my family or my baby, my son Aaron, as a part of your shtick. Not having it. Catch you next time on the Pasha Pod.
You have been listening to a Pasha Pod. Please like, subscribe,